Research Fellow of the UK in a Changing Europe and was previously the Programme Director at the Institute for Government, directing the organisation's work on better policymaking and Brexit. Jill, good morning to you.
Good morning, Henry.
Hi, what's been your big news story of the past few hours? Has it been NHS? Has it been something else?
So my big news story, well, I've got one personal news story and one sort of not so one.
Yes.
Big news story for the day was England's Massivo victory over India in the cricket, which I was teaching something this morning, so I couldn't watch, so I had to keep away from all news so I could watch it on catch up, but that was all pretty good. And
right. You're a big cricket fan then?
Because I work with a very big India fan who was distraught.
Okay.
So that was really looking forward to India-Pakistan on Sunday, but he's frustrated. And the other bit of news, and hopefully he's listening in New Mexico, is that the Home Office finally coughed up a visa for my niece's fiancé to come over, because we focus a lot on all those Home Office backlogs with asylum seekers, which is a massive problem, and how that's sort of, playing out. But actually, the Home Office isn't very good at just issuing ordinary visas very well. One of my colleagues in the summer had to postpone his wedding 3 times because the Home Office didn't get his fiancée a visa in time. And so we've been waiting on tenterhooks to see whether the visa would come through. So it just shows how actually things government do impact people's lives.
Indeed. People talk a lot about the Home Office not being fit for purpose. But yes, it's not just when it comes to people crossing the channel in small boats. It's the ordinary, everyday communal garden stuff like getting visas done on time or getting your passport in time for your trip. Yeah, you need more people, better systems, more efficiency. So we keep hearing. But anyway,
so those are a bit random. And obviously, that sort of then relates a bit to the news for all these potential strikes by civil servants, which is a form of civil servant, is quite interesting, which looks like it's potential to cause really a lot of disruption in what politicians always call the frontline services. So people like Border Force, people who do issue passports. So those delays could get longer again if you've been waiting for ages for your passport and have suddenly been caught out because you've forgotten that the rules have changed. You need more validity on your passport to go to Europe and things like that. So maybe further indications of a grim winter to come.
Yeah, well, all of that is certainly on one front page. I think the Eye, we might come to that a little bit later on. The unions battle government in new winter of discontent. But let's start off with this story, which broke a couple of hours ago. Kwasi Kwarteng, who has blamed Liz Truss for going too far and too fast with her radical economic reforms, and said he warned her it would lead to her downfall. In his first interview since being sacked as Chancellor, Mr. Kwarteng told Talk TV that he'd advised Liz Truss to slow down.
Let's talk about your firing. Now, you were recalled in a hurry from Washington, D.C. by Liz Truss. When did you know she was going to fire you?
So I actually, and this is dead honest, and you could look at the actual timings, I landed, I think, at about 10:40 on the Friday morning. And obviously you have to go through security. I mean, I was taken by my security detail. And I actually learnt on Twitter, on Steve Swinford's Twitter.
Times' political editor's
That's
Twitter
right,
feed.
that's right. And his Twitter, I think he must have tweeted about 11:20. So I was in the car on the way to Downing Street. And my special advisor said, "Oh, have you seen this?" And I looked at it and it said, Kwasi Kwarteng has been sacked or will be sacked. I can't remember which tense it was. And I was very much of the view that, oh, well, that's interesting. And so I got to Downing Street. I went into the cabinet room. The Prime Minister was quite sort of distressed and, emotional. And
what do you mean by distressed?
Well, I think she was, it was difficult. Still, we're friends, we're old colleagues.
She was in tears.
And, she was very emotional. And I was, as I am now, I was just speaking because I'd seen the thing. And I said, this is mad. I mean, Prime Ministers don't get rid of Chancellors. And I thought that, I think I said to her at the time, I said this is going to last 3 or 4 weeks. Little did I know it was only going to be 6 days. Even after the mini-budget, we were going at breakneck speed. And I said, we should slow down. Slow down.
And what did she say?
And she said, well, I've only got 2 years. And I said, you'll have 2 months if you carry on like this. And that's, I'm afraid, what happened. And that was something that I said to her in October, after the mini-budget.
So I suppose you rather wish she listened to you at the time.
Well, it's not. Look, I'm responsible. I'm not going to wash my hands with it. I was Chancellor of the Exchequer. I was also part of the top team. But looking back, I think we could have had a more measured approach.
A more measured approach. So, Joe Rutter, former senior civil servant, when you hear the former Chancellor bearing his soul in that way, explaining to Tom Newton-Dunn how he saw it, what do you think?
First of all, it's sort of quite odd to be bearing your soul quite this quickly. Was my first reaction that it seems a bit weird to be sort of spilling those inside beans about what went on between him and Liz Truss. And prime ministers do get rid of their chancellors, so I mean it's rarer than getting rid of other ministers. Chancellors do tend to hang on for much longer, or used to. Not this year, because we've had so many chancellors this year. But I think it's quite interesting. I think one of the points that he makes in that interview, from some of the stuff I was reading, I think on the Times front page, in that is he does sort of say that he warned Liz Truss that sacking him wouldn't save her premiership, that if he was sacked for effectively delivering her economic policy, and he's suggesting actually he was more cautious than she was, but he was sacked for, though it didn't really come across quite like that at the time, as I remember, but if he was sacked for delivering her policy, it just basically removed a human shield and she would be immediately in the firing line. So they either sort of survived together or went down together, and as it turned out, they went down together.